Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Elena Philippou, a registered dietitian, providing you with scientific advice on diet and health, since we are also what we eat. Intermittent fasting, a new way of dieting or the most primitive way of eating? Today we will explore the good, the bad and the unknown about intermittent fasting. Stick around because based on what we know, I'll give you 4 tips if you're interested to follow some kind of intermittent fasting. But let's start from the basics. What is intermittent fasting? It's basically a restriction in the time or the amount eaten, or sometimes a combination of the two. There are 3 main variations of IF regimens. The first one is the time-restricted eating, involving eating only during a certain time window, usually 8 hours in a 24-hour period. So that would be eating 8 hours, such as between 10 o'clock in the morning and 6 in the afternoon, but fasting for 16 hours. For women, perhaps it's better to do 14 hours instead of 16. During the fasting period, you can consume water and black tea or coffee without sugar, of course. The second approach is the alternate day fasting, involving eating only about 500 kilocalories on the days of fasting, but eating normally on the other days. So for example, you would eat 500 kilocalories on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, but normally on the rest of the days of the week. The third common approach is the 5-2, where the person eats normally for 5 days, then restricts their intake to again about 500 kilocalories per day on 2 consecutive days of the same week. Another similar approach is 4-3, with 4 days eating normally and 3 restricted eating. Are there any benefits? In studies in mice and some studies in humans, intermittent fasting has been shown to be very beneficial. It helps reduce weight, lower blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and insulin resistance and inflammation, and may help prevent diabetes and cardiovascular disease by changing the hormonal profile. IF helps to clear out toxins, increases autophagy of damaged molecules, or enhances their repair, reduces oxidation, increases stress resistance, and other benefits. Mice following intermittent fasting also live longer and remain younger. It is not clear though to what extent the benefits come from intermittent fasting or just calorie restriction, since we have known for many years that calorie restriction also extends the lifespan. But what about studies in humans? Does it work for weight loss? In a study published in the Journal of American Medical Association Internal Medicine in 2017, the researchers asked the question of whether alternate day fasting is more effective for weight loss and weight maintenance compared to normal calorie restriction. They recruited 100 metabolically healthy obese adults and randomized them to one of 3 groups: an alternate day fasting group involving a fast day where individuals consumed only about 500 kilocalories a day, alternated with a feast day where individuals were permitted to consume however much they wanted; a daily calorie restriction group where they ate about 75% of their usual intake, and a no intervention group. The study involved 6 months of weight loss followed by 6 months of weight maintenance. To me, it's not surprising that more people dropped out in the alternate day fasting group than the other 2 groups. The main finding, however, was that alternate day fasting did not produce superior weight loss or weight maintenance or had any other benefits to cardiometabolic health compared with the daily calorie restriction. What happened in reality is that many participants in the alternate day fasting group actually converted their intake into a usual calorie restriction as the trial progressed. It may be, however, that some obese individuals prefer this type of eating for weight loss. The question that comes to my mind, however, is it worth going into so much difficulty to lose weight? Another way, I believe easier, more practical and applicable to busy lives, is the restriction of the eating window. In a study at the University of Alabama, a small group of obese men with pre-diabetes were randomized to either consume their meals over an 8-hour period from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. or the same meal spread over 12 hours between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for 5 weeks. None of the groups lost weight, but the 8 hours group had dramatically lower insulin levels and improved insulin sensitivity and lowered their blood pressure. Are there any benefits on body composition? In another study, 34 resistance-trained males were randomly assigned to a time-restricted feeding where they ate 100% of their energy needs during an 8-hour window over 3 meals at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 8 p.m., and the normal diet group consumed the same energy over 12 hours, 8 a.m., 1 p.m., and 8 p.m. After 8 weeks, there was a decrease in fat mass in the time-restricted feeding group compared to the normal diet group, while the fat-free mass and muscle remained unchanged in both groups. Why is intermittent fasting beneficial? It makes sense evolutionary that we only ate during daytime and we were in sync with the natural day-night cycle. During periods of feeding, the main sources of energy for the cells are glucose and fatty acids. During the fasting period, the body flips off a metabolic switch. Since fasting leads to a lowering of blood glucose, the body starts burning fat and uses this in the form of ketones as energy. In other words, the body goes into ketosis, but in a more natural way than by consuming a keto diet, which would usually be high in fat. For humans, the ketone bodies rise within 8 to 12 hours after the onset of fasting, giving an indication of the appropriate time period for fasting. One of the ways that IF is sought to help is by allowing the cell's mitochondria, which is where our energy is produced, to work more efficiently during the day by resting them at night. What is bad about IF? It's possible that a person trying to do IF would feel hungry, irritable, dizzy, tired, and unable to concentrate during the fasting or restricted eating time periods. It is not to be tried by anyone under 18, pregnant or breastfeeding, people with eating disorders, and anyone with serious health problems and medication that can cause hypoglycemia, such as for diabetes, which could be even life-threatening. You might have electrolyte imbalances if you are taking any medication to lower blood pressure or heart problems. Anyone with a low body weight and elderly people are also not advised to do intermittent fasting. In general, if you have any health conditions or take any medication, you need to consult your doctor if you are thinking of trying any form of intermittent fasting. It might be that you can do a light version of it, such as 12 hours fasting. Another problem with intermittent fasting is that it doesn't educate you on what to eat during the feeding period, leading many people, especially those doing the alternate fast and feast days, to consume anything and everything on the non-fasting days. Their appetite and cravings go up and they just dive into food. Unknown. Most of the research up to now is on rats or other animals, and very few good studies have been done on humans. On top of that, even with the studies done, we cannot be sure of the long-term either benefits or possible damages or risks of following such regimens. So this is an area that still needs a lot of research. And according to the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, also known as NICE, routine use of very low-calorie diets to actually treat obesity is not recommended unless there is a clinical justification for weight loss and it must supply all the necessary nutrients. So consult a registered dietitian if you're thinking of doing any form of intermittent fasting. What to expect? Start slowly, but also expect results slowly. You will lose about half a kilo to 1 kilo a week. Slow and steady weight loss is of course healthier and usually more sustainable. And my 4 tips. First, prefer the restricted time window of IF as it's more practical and scientifically makes more sense. Second, choose times that suit your own lifestyle and stick to them even at weekends. Try not to change the times by more than 1 hour. I would recommend for women it might be enough to do a 14-hour fast and eat for 10 hours in a day. 3. Consume a healthy Mediterranean diet when you're not fasting. And 4. Eat as far away from bedtime as possible instead of skipping breakfast. As always, don't forget to like and share this video with whoever you think might benefit. Subscribe to my channel and press the ring button so that you'll be the first to know when we put on a new video. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video with more dietary advice.